Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. Daredevil is one of the most beloved and badass Marvel characters. Just look at the brilliant Netflix adaptation starring Charlie Cox as the Man Without Fear.
I'm not seeking penance for what I've done, Father. I'm asking forgiveness for what I'm about to do.
This show was a masterpiece, a gritty, dark take on Matt Murdock that managed to explore the complex character while fleshing out a captivating story. But this actually wasn't the first time Marvel tried to adapt this character to the screen. In 2003, Fox rode the recent success of superhero flicks like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and cast Ben Affleck as Matt Murdock. Unfortunately, unlike the show, the movie was
boring.
So how exactly did Fox screw the pooch?
Really screwed the pooch on that one.
And what did Netflix's adaptation get so right? Well, I think there's one scene that shows why one is this.
Maybe you just can't stop yourself.
I don't want to stop.
And the other is this. But first, let's get into some similarities between the two.
You know me, Eric. It's always good.
Both tell the story of Matt Murdock. As a boy, he was blinded by a radioactive isotope.
My eyes, the goggles do nothing.
This accident took away his sight, but it elevated his other senses to a superhuman level.
I can smell you.
Matt's father was a boxer who wanted his son to write, not fight, but like most superhero dads, he's killed by gangsters, and this sends Matt on the path to fighting crime. Fast forward, and Matt has an unrelenting faith in the justice system and humanity's capacity for redemption. These ideals serve him well as an attorney alongside his partner Foggy Nelson.
Look at that. Wilson Fisk is in the hizzy.
But by night, he guards the streets of Hell's Kitchen by taking the law into his own hands as Daredevil. Both feature Wilson Fisk as the main antagonist.
The city was a part of me, that it was in my blood. And I would do anything to make it a better place.
Our main character has to put down Fisk, but other villains get in the way. We also see a love interest that gets herself involved in Matt Murdock's double life. Some of the other recurring characters include reporter Ben Urich and Father Lanton. So yes, these works are similar because they adapt the same character. But what does the TV show get so right that the movie gets so wrong? The show does have more time to build a story and flesh out its characters, but even a single episode of the show, divorced from the rest of the series, works better than this entire movie. To prove this, we'll only look at the first 2 episodes of the TV show, which is roughly the same runtime as the film. There's 2 scenes that I'm going to use as a point of comparison: the bar fight in the movie and the hallway fight in episode 2 of the Netflix series. One of these is a masterfully crafted action scene. This fight and its context in the story show the audience what the character of Daredevil is all about. It epitomizes Matt Murdock's morality.
Try saying that 5 times faster.
Now, at this point in the show, Daredevil is slowly discovering that crime cartels secretly control Hell's Kitchen. His actions piss off the cartels and make him into a target. Russians try to lure him in by kidnapping a kid. Matt knows it's a trap, but is unable to leave the kid in the hands of the mob. Between episodes, he gets beaten half to death and thrown into a dumpster, where he's found by Nurse Claire Temple at the start of episode 2. The episode follows Claire nursing Matt back to health as they get to know each other. These scenes are intercut with Matt's backstory, where his father is murdered by a crime boss. These flashbacks help to frame the story as it unfolds. Eventually, the Russians come searching for Matt under the guise of a police officer, but Matt is able to sniff them out, literally.
It smells like premium cigarettes and discount cologne.
You can smell a man on the 3rd floor?
You'll smell him soon enough. He really likes that cologne.
He saves Claire from the mobster and tortures him on the rooftop to reveal the location of the kid. Even though he knows he's walking into another trap, Matt still decides to save the child. On to the fight scene. It's a masterpiece. The scene is one take, and not just one take like 1917 or Birdman, where the cuts are obscured and the shot is framed to look like it's all one take. This was literally one take. It took them 8 or 9 tries and over 6 hours to get the scene perfect.
With Daredevil, there's a lot of real-world weight to him. When you see him fight, he gets tired. When you see other people fight him, you see them get tired. You see him get hit. He's a superhero, yes, sure, but he's not invulnerable.
The shot follows Matt as he stumbles his way through the hallway, taking on hordes of criminals. Daredevil disappears into different rooms, but the camera doesn't cut away to show us the action occurring there, and this isn't just a gimmick. The show is making the viewer blind, just like Matt Murdock. The show understands that good storytelling is as much about what we don't see as what we do see. Because we can't see Matt Murdock, we imagine him going through the worst. The battle is grounded, but the stakes are high. We know that Matt is in real danger. He was nearly killed at the beginning of the episode, and he's barely able to stand. He needs time to catch his breath and find his footing, but like Taylor Swift, he has to shake it off. He fights through the heart of the mob just to rescue this kid. The set design adds to the air of danger. The yellow lighting, the cheap and worn down furniture, the ugly plaster hallways. This place is scarier than Monster House.
If those are the teeth and that's the tongue, then that must be the uvula. Oh, so it's a girl house. What?
Matt takes some serious hits. But he keeps going. This is the essence of Matt Murdock. He's beaten half to death, but takes every punch because he can't give up. Somewhere in this building, a little boy is counting on him. We actually care about Matt Murdock. We want him to be safe. We've seen that he lives by a strong set of morals, and he just wants to do good.
EMTs bring in a 19-year-old waitress, said some guy she knew waited for her after work in the parking lot, attacked her, tried to drag her in the alley. She said she screamed, and a man in a black mask heard her, and he saved her life.
Now, the episode is intercut with flashbacks of Matt losing his father. These frame the story and make the episode personal. He isn't just saving a kid, he's reuniting a kid with his father. Under Daredevil's watch, this child won't have to grow up like Matt Murdock did. Before he speaks to the kid, Matt pauses. He realizes that the boy heard everything that happened and is probably terrified. So instead of going into the room as a psychopath in a black mask to just beat the shit out of hordes of people, he takes his mask off and goes to comfort the boy as Matt Murdock. The conversation between them happens off camera, and we don't even get to see the boy reunited with his dad before the episode ends. As Ben Kuchera from Polygon puts it, the conclusion is hard to miss. We're just voyeurs in this world. The victims and the few people trying to make it better are on their own. The execution of this scene is perfect. In fact, this show is nearly perfect, which is why it's such a disappointment that this next scene from the movie was done so poorly. Almost no one remembers this mess, so let me set the table for you. The movie opens with a dying Matt Murdock telling us about his life. We see his backstory in a flashback that's longer than a Family Guy name.
Who is she? That's Margaret Woolworth Carrington von Schumacher Chanel Astor Livingston Comte de Saint-Exupéry Mountbatten Windsor Armani.
This flashback is edited with some hysterically unfitting music.
We made each other a silent promise to never give up.
Which is a common theme throughout the movie. We see the accident, and for some reason, being blind gives Matt ninja powers too. Matt gets his powers and witnesses his father being murdered. He says,
I would keep my promise. I would help those that others wouldn't.
Even though his promise to his dad was actually that he'd study hard and not become a fighter. We cut to the future where adult Matt sleeps in a coffin for some reason. In court, Matt is prosecuting a sex offender who for some reason is named after comic book artist Joe Quesada. Really, movie? That's how you honor one of the greatest Marvel editor-in-chiefs of all time, naming a sexual predator after him? Murdock is shocked when the criminal goes free on a technicality, and then he takes the law into his own hands. Now we have this masterclass of cinema. Need I remind you, he's completely alone in his apartment doing tricks. This is almost as bad as this. Daredevil jumps down a 50-story building and somehow survives. I guess the accident made him blind, gave him ninja powers, and gave him unlimited hit points. He tracks the criminal down to a biker gang hideout. Remember how, in the show, he was forced to fight all the Russians to save one kid? Well, here, he could have just picked off his target outside, but he decides to wait until he has to beat up everyone else too. And what does he want?
Justice.
This fight scene is lit worse than Solo.
Come on. There's no liars in this game, just players.
The seat taken?
It has a lot of quick cuts and hilarious slow motion. For some reason, whenever something is thrown, the camera follows it. Because the lighting is so dim and the Daredevil suit is so dark, everything just blends together. Unlike the hallway fight, there is no contrast to draw your eye to the important action. In the show, the cinematographer used the black costume to weave him in and out of darkness and build tension. But during this fight, the movie tries to be creative and alter the audio so it mimics what Matt is hearing. But it just sounds like a toddler was screwing around in the Foley studio.
Mommy?
In the show, we've already seen Matt Murdock get beaten like a rented mule, so the audience knows that he's vulnerable. But 2 minutes before the movie fight, Daredevil free falls from a skyscraper and was perfectly fine. So I guess he's just... Daredevil plows through the bad guys unscathed and then walks through fire. So, add fire resistance to his list of new powers. I mean, are we really supposed to believe that this guy is in any danger? He tracks down the criminal to a subway station where he gets distracted by a train. I'm not kidding. For this version of Daredevil, loud noises are his weakness. In the show, his powers are much better defined and we don't see him using all of his senses to his advantage.
I'm gonna ask you some questions. You're gonna answer them. If you're lying to me, trust that I will know.
His blindness doesn't make him weak. He's overcome because he's a human being who refuses to kill the bad guys, instead kicking the crap out of them. The movie seems to think that Daredevil's only powers are super hearing and radar sense, like he's a bat, and they ignore his other senses which give him a major handicap in a fight.
Let's play.
Pick one, movie. Either he's so overpowered that he can walk through fire and take down 50 people unscathed, or he's so weak that he needs rain to see. Although that is the best scene in the movie. Finally, after tracking down the sex offender, he hands him over to the proper authorities. Day saved. Oh wait, I forgot. He actually splits him in half with a train.
Jose Quesada. The rest of Jose Quesada.
Oh, that's right, folks. This version of Daredevil is basically the Punisher, which is why later, when he says over and over again,
I'm not the bad guy.
it's a load of bull. These scenes outline the one thing the show gets so right and that the movie doesn't: Matt Murdock's character. Daredevil's moral compass is what drives the show. His morality is his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. In the hallway fight, Matt's intention is to save a life. He doesn't kill anyone, and his only priority is reuniting the child with his father. In the movie, Daredevil wants to kill a criminal because he lost in court. Why does Hollywood always want Ben Affleck heroes to go a-murdering? In the show, Daredevil actually struggles whether or not to kill. It defines his character. He's a Catholic lawyer who believes in redemption, not vengeance. In the movie, his motivation to kill criminals is because his dad told him to stay out of fights and study hard, which makes about as much sense as Tenet.
Don't try to understand it.
Movie Daredevil is motivated by revenge, not altruism. Even Wilson Fisk is revealed to be his father's murderer, which makes his takedown of Fisk a bloodthirsty revenge story and not about justice. Making Daredevil a killer also makes him less sympathetic and harder to relate to. But most importantly, showrunner Drew Goddard nailed the character of Matt Murdock. The internal struggle between justice and the law, rage and understanding. Even though the show is canceled, I'm crossing my fingers for a revival, and I just hope the music is better than this. Well guys, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and ring that notification bell. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. Take it, Doug.